You gotta know, like, some executive or some manager is thinking, oh no, our player numbers are down ever since the end of the last season. We gotta find a way to bump up our numbers here. And one guy in the back room is just like, guys, don't worry. I got it. I got it. Here it is. 60 points. Now wait at this. Gasoline. Everyone logs on. They claim it for only 8-hour period, though. Not any longer. But they'll give you a nice little gift. 60 fuel. And we just lose their fucking mind inside the room. Yeah, that's the level of quality of patch notes we're dealing with here today, folks. Either way, welcome back, everybody. Today we're taking a nice, lovely patch notes here, coming about the 13.2 Holy Motors update. It's a Ravager-themed update, and it's going to be one of those nice, small little seasons, just like the one that was just started. Oh god, that had to be, what, 3 months ago? Now we're already on a new season. It keeps going so fast, man. My god. Where does the time go? But other than that, let's actually get into these patch notes, see if there's anything good here, see if they actually changed the crafting recipes here, see if the weapons are any good. Oh no. But as you imagine, similar thing as always, you got a 49 level season here, you do levels, you get coins, you get items, you get armor, you get weapons, you get modules, you get the whole kit and caboodle here. If you want to take a look at the rewards real quick, here they are. Go ahead and pause them as you see fit, but as you can see, nice mixture of decor items, get a few armor parts here, a few CKs, a lot of repeats from previous seasons, and a few consumables to pad out the whole thing here. Now, as you can imagine, it's a mixed bag overall here, but considering that it is a smaller season, and they try to keep more rewards relative to the actual level here, it's going to be a lot more pad and filler than probably what you're expecting. Now, the extra special notes here, let's see if they've actually made the modifications I've been so asking for. During the season, all new parts, including the fused versions, can be crafted in limited quantities. Permanent recipes will be available. Uh-oh, that's not a good sign. As new level seasons are gained, all players will discover and receive additional one-time recipes, the work pieces of new parts. During the season, you can get several work pieces for each new part at once. Interesting. I wonder if you can get work pieces in for old parts then. At the same time, if there's work pieces, that means they haven't changed the crafting. Once the season is over, permanent recipes will become unavailable, but you'll still have the work pieces. They can be used whenever you want, to a certain degree. The work pieces add into storage, who cares? If you don't have enough time, but have the opportunity to craft a certain part during the season, you'll be able to craft it thanks to a work piece. I love how they say that, like they didn't still sunset the content again, like they've been doing every single season. And again, my same criticisms as the last season, just like the previous season before that, and the season before that, and all seasons, is that sunsetting content like this is not necessarily the best idea to do. Sure, you don't want to have like 1,700 seasons active at any given moment in time, but going back and doing season and getting these content over and over not only provides you an opportunity to sell more stuff, but provides people who weren't here opportunity to actually gain old stuff they had previously. I think Halo does this, where all season and all season passes are still purchasable, and you can still work on them at any given point in time, so there isn't like a need or a fear of missing out if you don't participate in any one given season. Not to mention, too, the fact that these recipes still become unavailable means that eventually, over time, these parts will become more and more exceedingly rare. But considering that majority of these parts tend not to be terribly hot in demand, it generally kind of counteracts the limited supply of it, since there's basically no demand for any of these parts. Although it might change with some of these good ones nowadays, to be honest. Well, and the fact everyone gets legendary versions of it during the season anyway, that cuts a huge amount of demand away right there alone. But either way, the fact they still are doing this is just, the huge kick in the groin to a game where a third of its logo is dedicated specifically to crafting. Charge in, man. Gotta change this here. Gotta change this. Although, to be fair, considering that they're still losing players despite seasons being rolled out, indicates that there might be a more fundamental issue with these seasons, so, Event leveling up system. Again, same thing as always. There's weekly, there's daily, and there's hard weekly challenges. Daily challenges reset, as you can imagine, every day. I know, wow, who would have guessed? And then weekly challenges, they roll over. It's essentially like, oh, craft an item, sell stuff, buy stuff. You know, do raids, yada, yada, yada. Essentially, play the game and you'll level up. You don't even have to really think about it majority of the time, unless you don't change out weapons at all. But let's go ahead and take a look at the brand new seasonal pods. You know, the big cojones, the big boys. Right now, we got the brand new special machine gun, frontal machine gun, I should say. The M25 Guardian. Power score of 570, durability of 179 points, energy drain of 3 points, a mass of 155 kilograms, and the perk is each hit on the enemy increases the resistance to all types of damage by 1%. The effect lasts for 1 second and stacks up to 10 times. So again, a weapon here meant to be as durable as humanly possible, and the fact that this weapon can easily be hidden also really helps its durability as well. You can easily slap to the side of cars, underside cars, and a variety of other places to actually get the most out of this weapon. So definitely pretty interesting to see how this will turn out. It's essentially the M29 except weaker. If you know what the M29 is, let's go over here to the technology tree. It's essentially this, the M29 Protecta. Essentially the same thing, a little bit more durable, a little bit more damage, better overall, and it has 20% total resistance as opposed to 10%. And you can think of 10% resistance as like having it essentially an extra 10% durability, assuming maximum uptime on the perk. So in this case, it'd be like 17.9 or 18 if you want to round up. So, alright, not too bad, not too shabby. I can imagine this being pretty good for PvP and mid-tier power scores. Anything higher, though, it's clearly going to be outclassed because there's 2 weapons above it. But still pretty good, nice power score efficient. Definitely going to be good for a lot of you just starting out here. Next, we got the epic module, the Averta. Power score of 275, durability of 180 points, 1 energy point drain, 160 kilogram mass, and a perk that increases increases the protection of a part attached to the power nodes by 30% here. And the important thing to note here, power nodes are special welding points that give certain bonuses to other parts that are attached to them. So in the case of the Averter, it's these little nodes in the back here. In fact, you can probably take a look at it here in the rewards section. So where is the lovely dovely Inverter? Here it is. There's the blueprint versions. So as you can see here, there's the special welding points on the part, as indicated by the little 3 circles, kind of like a bowling ball here. Attach a part to that, and congratulations, it is 30% more resistful here. And you can see you only have about 8 parts in total to actually slap on here. There isn't one above or below, and there isn't one on the front. So you only got these little 8 parts here. So at maximum, you can get 30 parts there with an extra roughly 30% points there, which is pretty good. Slap it onto a train plow, it becomes way more resistful. Slap it onto a couple of weapons, even better. I imagine this would be perfect for a lot of these frontal machine gun builds. Like, throws on with some Vindicators there, like, ooh, that's going to work out quite nicely. A lot of people also say you can use it on, like, some good shotguns to keep them lasting a lot longer. That's also a good thing as well. Considering the lack of weld points, though, this would also be really good for just big cojones weapons, like a Mastodon or a Mammoth or Tsunami. Anything like that that can actually properly utilize that. Ooh, those become way more resistful. Ooh, so good. But, yeah, not too bad. I imagine this thing's probably going to become a common item in pretty much everyone's build here. But the 1 energy drain there should help keep it balanced out. So it's like, do I want to have a radar or a Capcan or landmines or like 1,000 different other things here that are similar usefulness? But I imagine they could probably shove it somewhere that could be useful. Next, we also got the Waltz here. Oh, I should also probably mention the Averter. The kind of resistance bonus, I think, goes with every single part here. So that'd be things like little armor parts here, plows, weapons, modules, and I think cabins too. Don't quote me on the cabin part. But it says parts attached to it, so it's in general all parts. And parts are everything pretty much, except for like paints and stickers, which don't even have durability. Next, we have the legendary Rotary rocket launcher, the Waltz here. Power score of 2400, ammo of 15 volleys, durability of 209 points, energy drain of 6 points, mass of 215 kilograms, and the perk is the impulse and damage of each subsequent rocket in the volley is increased by 100% and 25% respectively. So impulse is how much a thing is pushed or how much force is applied to it. So higher the impulse, the higher chance something's going to be tipped over or pushed over. So meant to be more shovey in that regard. But considering there's 3 tubes on this, I'm guessing it's going to be a triple volley. So that means the last rocket here should have a 200% increased impulse and a 50% increase in damage. And considering that you can have 3 design a car at once, 2 of them reasonably, this thing could easily do a lot of damage, I feel like, to a lot of builds. But it's also a pretty chonky item too, and it has only 209 points of durability, so it's not the highest resist weapon here. And if you actually take a look at the size of this thing, it's quite interesting in the sense that it is very, very large here. So if you take a look at the bottom here, it's a 4x4 cube on the bottom of this. But that's, you don't know what size it is, so let me give you an actual weapon that you could probably play with today. But think of it like the Caucasus. The Caucasus, those things are mamba jambas. Those dudes are huge. These are 4x4 here, and these have like an extra 100 points of durability, and they're huge. So thinking the Waltz is going to be in the same category, the same size as the Caucus, and yet be less durable, I can definitely see this thing being stripped off quite easily. So you're probably going to use this on a cabin or build of some sort that can protect the Waltz, or at least can deal enough damage to strip other weapons before you get damaged. So probably a Nova cabin on hovers, I can see this being the most ideal situation for the Waltz. Although it also depends on the amount of recoil. Since it's a rocket launcher, I don't think it's going to have any recoil, but always a good thing to keep in mind. But definitely going to be a very interesting weapon to see how that turns out. I could easily see it being an incredibly great stripping weapon. Next, we also got the legendary cabin, the Master, which is a bit interesting because you can't actually see what it looks like. If you actually go to the rewards section and go over to the Master, it's just, it's a box. The box will be available soon, meaning that it's not available nor finished right now. Kind of interesting. But we'll be able to see that as we level it up, and by the time you can actually get up there, it'll probably be available. But power score is 2400, is a light cabin, so don't expect to haul very much on this. The speed is 95 kilometers an hour, which is pretty fast for cabins. A tonnage of 5k with a mass limit of 10k, so it's able to haul around a pretty decent amount without any tires, so don't have to put too many on there. Has energy of 12, as expected. A durability is of 360 points, which is alright. Mass of around 750 kilograms, a little bit heavy, but nothing too bad. But the perk is the big thing about this. This thing is important. When the module is activated, the cabin heats up, and when it's deactivated, the cabin cools down within 5 seconds. Okay, what does it do? Restores up to 10% of the durability per second to the parts attached to the power nodes here. So like the Averter, it's going to have special contact points on the car that actually it transfers durability back to when they get damaged or when the perk is activated. So say, for example, your gun is damaged and it has like 20 or 30 points of durability taken off by a stray gunfire. Well, now you can actually repair that, assuming it's attached to a power module. Same thing applies to plows, applies to armor parts, and now applies to guns. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that turns out. A lot of people saying it's going to be really synergistic with the breaker, because if you look down here, because its durability is roughly 387 there. Pretty hefty, and considering that the perk itself does not say it's turned off by combat, this implies that you can have it active the entire time you're fighting. So that means you can repair quite a bit of HP on your weapon the entire time, and it won't be stripped. That could be super beneficial. Sure, it's a high risk, high reward, you take more damage, but at the same time, if your weapons can last way longer, that's all that matters. Because as soon as your weapons go, you're done. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter if you have 4k HP. If your weapons are gone, you're gone. You're irrelevant at that point. And generally that's what happens at any game, is that you will have your weapons stripped off in like 2 seconds. So having that ability go on there 24/7 will be really beneficial. Might also be beneficial towards builds that can be easily hidden, like frontal machine guns or anything limited angle. So it can definitely help out a lot of these weapons too. But considering it's a light cabin, they can't really readily use super heavy weapons like cannons or auto cannons, since those things are massively heavy and would significantly reduce your total mass available for armor. I mean, it doesn't matter how strong your car is. If your car gets blown up in 2 seconds because all it is a weapon on a cabin, you're not going to live very long. But anything lighter should be pretty beneficial to this. And generally, your weapon's going to have fairly high durability to begin with to actually utilize the perk effectively. Because if your weapon only has like 100 durability and it's 10% every second, that's only 10 points every second. And most machine guns, most weapons can output way higher than that. So you're going to definitely need a lot of durability innately with your weapon to utilize this perk effectively. But there's still plenty of weapons that could still utilize it quite nicely. I mean, most of them are 200, that's 20 points a second, 300, 30 points a second, 400, 400 points a second. You get the idea. Throw an Averter on there for extra resistance, and you're set, man. Oh, is it resistance or armor? Because it's protection of the power nodes, so I'm assuming it's resistant then. But yeah, definitely be an interesting cabin to see here. It's definitely going to be very powerful with wedge builds and rammer builds and dog builds of all sorts. So have fun with that, everybody. Next, we also have the new sea case for the Helios and Caucus here, which look quite snazzy, but the thing is that they don't actually look like that in-game. If you actually come to the in-game menu here and look at them, they look completely different. So here's the Caucus that actually has some elements of little brown rust in there and some green eyes. So it looks way more spiffy and way less dark than in the image. For some reason, the image is like pitch black for some reason, and I don't know why. Like, that looks hideous. This looks better. This actually looks passable. The other ones just look so bad without the little bit of brown tinge in there and the green eyes. But this actually looks pretty passable now too. Plus I like the little flared out like muzzle. It looks like a, I don't know, impulse blaster or something like that. Something you'd find in like alien movies. Very snazzy. Very nice. Beyond that, we also got some structural parts here, and let's go ahead and take a look at those real quickly. Nothing too jazzy. There's only a few of them, I believe. Not very much at all. So let's take a look here. We got one bumper here, not too snazzy. 70 durability, 90% bullet or contact resistance. You know, not too shabby. Pretty small too. So good for more low profile builds. And has some nice sharp angles to it as well. We got some van covers here that are good for maybe corner pieces, I assume. They also don't have a high lot of durability there, so it's not the best. Plus, the durability to mass ratio is not ideal. We also got the buggy right corner pieces here. They have so little durability that it's like, what, 3 durability here? That's nothing. Sure, it has 90% bullet pass-through, but it's 3 durability. It's useless. It's a waste of parts, unless you're going for aesthetic build. And then you also got this little clasping piece here, which I guess looks snazzy enough, I suppose. It's just kind of like a corner piece, so yay. So nothing terribly exciting when it comes to armor, unfortunately, but I guess some seasons are hit and miss. Other than that, they have the passes available, which are, as imagined, same as always. Regular pass gives you 1 level and access to the rewards. Elite pass, $35, gives you 15 levels, and all the rewards are 15 levels, I should say. Beyond that, they also have this brand new red light mission here, which is actually quite nice here. It does look like it's a PvP mode of some sort. There's an infected side of Ravagers, and there's a clean side of just regular people. And the Ravagers are controlled by players, and the clean people are controlled by players as well. And your goal is essentially to make it to the end point without dying to the Ravagers. And if you get touched by the Ravagers, you essentially explode and become a Ravager, and your goal is to come and infect other people. So think like the Wookiee or that one Battlefront 2 mission where you're facing all the little Wookiees that are trying to kill you as a stormtrooper. Yeah, it's essentially the same thing. But also looks like they also incorporated a lot more environmental hazards and turrets that the Ravagers can place to actually bump up other people. So definitely be interesting. And the Ravager vehicles are always preset vehicles too. That also have, I believe, the Argus on here too to prevent mine spam or projectile spam. So that should help out ever so slightly. But as long as you have cap cans here, and as long as you have decent firepower with like auras and whatnot, you should be set. You should be set. Can't imagine this being too hard. Oh yeah, your vehicle can't be exceeding 9,000 power score, and can't have boosters, fuel barrels, werewolf, or explosive weapons like a boom or a lancet. Which makes sense, because you don't want to be just completely out of lancets in 2 seconds, and then you instantly die. Beyond that, you also have special challenges for completing this mode and making it to the end. So play 3 games, get 50 points of scrap, destroy 10 enemies, get a white honeycomb paint, destroy 15 enemies, you get 200 badges, which is a little bit of reward, destroy 20 enemies, and you get the adventure sticker, and then you get to the finish line, you get a rare CK of your choice. Which ones, I don't know. They don't really seem to show the rewards yet, and if you actually go to the mode itself, it doesn't actually seem to show you quite yet. Just gives you the basic challenges that you can like start to engage with. Beyond that, it is also interesting to note that this actually gives you a little bit of scrap metal here. Although I'm actually kind of wondering as to the amount of reward here and the amount of time it actually takes to do this. Because if this mode takes way too long to actually get proper scrap from, I can see a lot of people not doing it just because it's not simply worth it. But it might be a fun mode to try. It definitely does look like an interesting mode. It's way different than what you've typically played with. So I do appreciate that. Any PvP-esque mode too also kind of alleviates the strain that like random BS AI can do. So quite nice. On that, we also got the brand new Relic single shotgun, the Yolvinga. Essentially, as the Relic shotgun, looks like a giant fish head. You shoot one shot, and most of the pellets hit, then your second shot, then heats up the car afterwards. So it's a rarity relic, 2,400 power score, pretty much like everything else here. Durability of 390, so pretty beefy. Enter drain of 4 points, a mass of 335 kilograms, and if at least half the pellets hit an enemy, the next shot will be fired with the incendiary projectiles to heat up the parts on impact. Damage to these parts increases by 100% depending on the heating level. So I'm actually curious as to what the heating level is per shot, if like it does heat up significantly. But essentially, it's like a regular shotgun mixed with a Gravistar, or like a Nidhogg mixed with a Gravistar, which they pretty much both do the exact same thing. So basically to see how this turns out. The one interesting thing about this is whether or not its damage on it is super high. If that's the case, then it could definitely become a very interesting weapon. Plus the fact that it has like a pseudo support level reward as well makes it a way more interesting. I actually wonder if I can take a look at it right now through the crafting page. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so it's a 4x4 attachment point, but it's way larger than that, clearly. I mean, this thing probably has an effective area of maybe 5x5, 6x5. It's going to be a very large weapon, like the Breaker before it. So don't expect this to be easily hideable. And you can see it definitely has the same footprint as the Breaker too. It's be interesting to see how that'll turn out. My guess is probably someone's going to run one Breaker and one of the Yominga. I imagine, let's see, how many shots does it actually get up? Because it doesn't have a reload rate. So it looks like it's probably going to be... Doesn't seem to have a reload rate. Doesn't have time to overheating, though. So yep, it's definitely a reload-esque shotgun. So maybe it wouldn't be mixed with the Breaker as much. I mean, it doesn't matter, though. It's still going to be massively expensive, and people have already made it, too. That's funny. I guess it makes sense, so people can just auto-force complete it as soon as they know the crafting reagents. Interesting, though. Interesting. But I don't expect it to be too dominant here, at least when compared to the Breaker, which also has a fairly good perk as well. But, alright, cool. I mean, that with the Master might be pretty interesting, though. Beyond that, they also have a brand new... Well, I shouldn't say brand new, but it's a modified version of the old Fortress map. Now, slightly different, a lot more open, a lot more abandoned architecture on there. There's now plant elements that you can now see through and shoot through and be sneaky about it. Plus, it just added in a lot more character to the map itself, which I can always greatly appreciate. There's the old, like, military-esque convoy missions there. Definitely be kind of nice here. I wonder if it's actually going to be thrown back into PvE rotation as well. But yeah, definitely going to be a lot more interesting. I wonder what the battles in the center are going to be like. It's going to be a lot more just kind of headstrong butt ramming. But it looks like essentially the same fortress map with a lot more debris out in the middle, in a way, it looks like. It's interesting to see how that actually transitions into gameplay changes later on. Definitely interesting to see how that turns out, though. That does look nice and snazzy. Do appreciate any sort of abandoned architecture-esque look to it. Almost gives you, like, Fallout 4 vibes in a way. Interesting. But yeah, let me know what you think about that map down below. Out of that, they also optimized some of the old environmental objects for a couple of islands here. Updated the appearance of bridge. Desert Valley had environmental object updated. And blocked direct visibility to the spawn point. The first thing to spawn the point, the second map of the Desert Valley. I'm not even sure what the devil that even means, but alright, that's been fixed. Other than that, maps have been added back to the clan battles. So we'll have to see how that turns out. And they've also made some changes here to factions. Made Steppenwolf, Firestarters, and Lunatics slightly... Or I should say Steppenwolf and Firestarters easier on medium. Lunatics harder on medium. And Nomads easier on hard. So, yay, cool. Beyond that, the amount of raiders has also been adjusted in quite a few missions here. Data theft, gone in 2 minutes, hit and run, perimeter breach, and frontier defense. Hopefully that doesn't mean they've reduced the amount of it, reducing the overall reward. Because the thing is that if you reduce the amount of enemies, that reduces the amount of destruction points you get, which directly feeds into the rewards you get afterwards. So if there's less enemies in the sake of balancing, quote-unquote, whatever that is, that means less money you get in PvP or PvE. So hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully rewards have maintained the same. But I guess I'll have to test it out, see how it's actually changed. Will I still get my 10 electronics or 10 plastic permission? Who knows? And then beyond that, we have a bunch of just miscellaneous changes and bug fixes that happen with all the weapons here. So, what do you guys think about this update? Is it yay or nay for y'all? Do you all excited for this? I'm still peeved off about the changes to the crafting system, but at this point in time, I don't think Crossout really cares what I say. Clearly not, because I'm too small and too Pandalius for these 30 packs. I don't know, let's go over there. But other than that, let me know what you guys think down below. And I'll see you guys next time. Ta-ta.